Welcome to Black and Forth. I'm your host, Nori. I'm excited to be here. We have a very special guest joining us. It is Henry Hank Jones. We're gonna call him Hank. Gotta say your government.
Yeah, you got the whole thing out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it was real. But I knew it was real when I looked you up on IMDb, and I was like, oh, he got writing credits. He's a director. He's doing all of my favorite shows, from The Game to Blackish, BET's The New Edition Story, Dear White People, Motown Magic, Family Reunion, The Neighborhood, Grown-ish. Do I need to go on? You're doing it for the culture.
I'm exhausted just hearing that. It's a lot.
It is apparent. You are out here working, and man, we are proud of you. We are proud of you for sure.
I'll take all that. Thank you so much.
And that's what I'm here for. Sometimes you just want to hear, like, keep doing what you're doing, because it is definitely pushing us and moving us forward. And what you're saying resonates with a lot of people through the scripts and various shows that you've worked on. So I
hope so. That's why we're doing it. I hope somebody's feeling it, So.
Exactly. For those that don't know, we just had this kind of sidebar conversation. You were here in the DMV area where I'm located. Now you're in California. You were doing your thing. You took a leap of faith. And you jumped out there. Talk to me about what that process was like, right before you decided to actually do it, and just kind of preparing to move across the country. And, obviously you've been successful, but what was that like?
Well, it's funny because whenever I tell people about this whole journey, the thing they get hung up on is like, wow, I can't believe you moved. I can't believe you just packed up and bounced like that. That was the easiest part of this whole journey. It was just deciding. Yeah, it definitely was. Like, before I moved to LA, I always loved all things movie and TV related, and I always liked writing. I was an English major in college, but I never thought anything Hollywood related was practical. I grew up in Ambler, Pennsylvania. Nobody out there was doing anything like this. Just working in LA, so it just didn't even seem realistic to me at all. But I was in grad school for like the teaching of writing and literature. And my undergrad degree was actually in film and media concentration, like for my English degree. So I was still kind of flirting with all things like Hollywood. But, like most English majors, I'm thinking, all right, I better get a grad degree so I can teach. And I was working at a tax publication in Northern Virginia and reporting on tax news, because I had dreams of like, oh, maybe I can get to the Washington Post, But reporting on tax news is even more boring than it sounds. And I quickly realized I didn't want to do journalism. And I'd been writing as a hobby up to that point, like script writing, but not really. Like, I was writing in like a Word document, and I had like Script Writing for Dummies right next to me. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew I loved TV, and I loved just the writing that I had started doing. And I remember I had this like little sample script from The Office, that I got when, people still bought DVDs. Like, I bought the Dunder Mifflin collector's edition, like season 4 of The Office, like DVD Dunder Mifflin box. And inside of it was this script. And on the script, I saw it had like just the shooting date and the writer's draft. And I was like, oh, this is something people do. This is a job, I can go do this. And from that, and in addition to, like, I had a horrible breakup, and I was looking to get away from the DC area. And I was planning to go teach English as a second language in Japan, because I figured that was far enough away. So I was actually working on that application process. When I got the idea, I was like, you know what? No, I'm gonna go write scripts. That's what I'm supposed to do. So after I got my grad degree, I just quit my job, packed a car, and drove to LA. And I knew one person here, and I lived with him for a couple of weeks before getting a job at LegalZoom, which is in Glendale. And that was my life for the first 2 years. I was working at LegalZoom as a proofreader, and I was reading all these different books on script writing, and I was writing bad scripts, and I was going on Craigslist and looking for just independent films to work on, just so I can learn and meet people and stuff. And that was the first 2 years in LA.
Wow. So what was that most notable moment for you as a screenwriter? Like, when you felt like, okay, I'm starting to get into different circles. I'm starting to meet the right people. I'm starting to connect the dots. What was that moment for you?
Oh, shoot. That moment was probably like with the first job that I got. Like, I met this group of people who were like a little further ahead than me. Like, they were working in the business a little bit, like on the reality TV side, but they still aspired to be on the creative side and making projects. So one of my friends had done this short film, and I just volunteered my services for that. I was like, hey, I'll just want to come learn. Like, I'll be a production assistant on it, you know. And that's what I would always do. Just people will always take you if you're willing to work for free. You know, you can park cars and grab lunch. You know, they'll have you do something. So I did that for this project, and I became close with the star of that short. And a month later, she had reached out and was like, hey, you know, I got this job at Akil Productions. Like, she was assisting Mara and Celine. And she was like, you know, we got this show called The Game, and they need a writer's production assistant. Do you know anybody? I had no idea what a writer's production assistant was, but I knew writer was in the title. I mean, it was on the right track. So I was like, yeah, me. So I sent her my resume, and she got me an interview to be a writer's production assistant on that show. And so I remember going into the meeting, and I'd had one credit already. Like, I worked this terrible internship at this literary management company that was god awful, but at least it was something to put on the resume. So it got me in the door for this meeting. And I remember Claire Brown, God bless her, she's looking at my resume and she's looking at me, and she's just like, you don't have a lot of experience. And I just was pounding my fist on the desk, like, you're gonna give me this job. Like, this is my chance. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be right now. Like, I can see it. And she was just like, all right, you got spunk. Let's see where this goes. You know, and I was like, I got plenty of spunk. Yeah. And then next thing I knew, I was working as a writer's production assistant on The Game.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. There were so many powerful pieces and nuggets in what you said. And I think when I think about you taking that leap of faith, and I think about the Wave USA and Digital Dash PR putting together this conversation, you know, I think the hope and goal for me is that it inspires someone to really step out there and to hear your story and to hear how you were willing to do the work, volunteer, you got paid, but you know, you were willing to like jump out there and do the work. And I think that's what it's really about. As we move and as we grow and as we go after our goals and, you know, seek these new opportunities, like, you got to be willing to show people that you're passionate. And I hear it in your voice. Like, this is something that you absolutely enjoy doing. And I think when you get to your purpose and you start to align, and then you in there and you making it happen, like, it just kind of oozes all over you. And so, man, I'm excited. I'm excited for you that, like, you took that jump out there and it's working. Like, it's really, really working.
Well, things get so much easier when you not only realize what you're supposed to do, but you're just like, all right, everything is this. Because, you know, in high school and college, like, when I talk to younger people, I tell them, like, it's okay to not know what you want to do, but you should always be doing something. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I knew I liked writing. And so I stayed in school, and I went to grad school. I figured there's nothing wrong with just getting more degrees, but I was just kind of hovering around what I was supposed to be doing, but I was still just sharpening the tools, essentially, you know, because everything I did in DC before I came here, I now use, you know. But once I realized what I wanted to do, it was like everything just got so clear, and it was just like my head down and just grinding towards my goal.
Man, that's incredible. So, you know, you've worked on, it's so exciting because you worked on projects that I'm a fan of, that I watch, and I know the episodes. And you know, what show did you work on that was like the most exciting? You just couldn't wait to get out of bed to get to every morning. Like, is there a particular show that sticks out for you?
Just any show I worked on, like, regardless of being a writer or assistant.
Yeah,
just anyone.
yeah.
Oh, I mean, New Edition. I mean, come on, like, yeah, it's like New Edition and then everybody else, and that's not knocking like Dear White People, which was probably the closest to New Edition, but I mean, every day going into New Edition, like in pre-production, and like the guys are like, the cast are rehearsing all the songs and they're doing the choreography, and we would just hear If It Isn't Love like on a loop for like 12 hours a day as they're rehearsing. And those are just amazing songs to listen to on an endless loop for 12 hours. You couldn't really do that with a lot of tracks, but New Edition, yeah, you're on that 12th hour, you're still like just bobbing your head and singing to it, you know? And Mike and Ronnie and Ricky was there every day. And so just to chop it up with them and crack jokes, and the playoffs were on, so we're talking about sports all the time. And they would just tell these crazy stories, mostly about Bobby, you know, and it was just surreal just kind of being around that. And me and the writer, they only had one writer for this because it was a TV movie. He found out I was a writer, and we got really close, and I was helping him a lot with revisions and pushing out new drafts. And even though he had spent 10 years writing the scripts, you know, and it was amazing, there was still a lot of changes that had to be made as we were shooting. So to be in the trenches with him and helping him like revise this amazing scripts, and then reciting line, or like helping Wood Harris like remember his lines. And it was surreal, you know, and it was really,
Yeah.
really dope. Like that's a project that I'm just so proud to be a part of, and just that finished product that came out, and just seeing people's response to it and how much they loved it, and knowing the work that we put into it is amazing.
Well, let me tell you this, and I'm sure you've heard this, but as a consumer and as a fan, watching each episode and just on the edge of your seat, you think you know, but you're not sure. It was everything. I remember the group chats and the phone conversations and the social media going crazy, and to know that you're influencing the culture, you're part of the culture, you're helping to showcase the culture. How has that been for you? Because to be such an impactful person, and the exciting part is that obviously we get excited about the actors and actresses and them and the work that they do, because they bring the stories that you all tell to life. But like, how has that been for you, knowing that you impact the culture so much with your work?
Well, it's stressful.
Is it
Because it's stressful. Yeah, for real. Because I'm aware of that. I'm aware that like when I'm in these rooms, like especially now writing on shows, like I have a responsibility. You know what I mean? Because I know who's watching. So yeah, if we're casting more than a couple light-skinned people, I'm asking why. You know what I mean? Because like colorism is a thing. Like I can hear Black Twitter out there, like we're waiting. They're like putting the chambers in the gun. Like so I'm not. It's not out of like a fear-based thing, but they're not wrong. Like we do have this responsibility to just kind of not show Black people in their best light, but just be honest about who we are and authentic in everything that we do, and just talk about something that's interesting, and never exploit us, and of course we miss the mark sometimes, but you have to try and make sure you're doing it for us.
Man, that is so important, to be conscious and to be aware, especially in those creative spaces where we talk about representation, and we talk about making sure that we are showcasing us in our best light and in truth. Like sometimes the truth isn't the best light, but it's the truth, and making sure you do that authentically.
Just as long as it has to be real, it has to come from a real place.
Right.
And just be honest. And you're never going to please everybody, and that shouldn't be the goal, because then it's going to be trash, whatever you're making, But just, as long as it's promoting conversation and just being real, that's the goal.
Well, you hitting the mark. You are definitely hitting the mark.
Thank you.
For those that don't know, how is writing scripts for TV shows different from like writing a novel and other pieces of work? Because you're a writer, so you write.
Well, yeah, I've never written a novel though, so I don't know if I can do that comparison. But I always have friends and people from all walks of life, especially with the more success I have. More people reach out like, "Hey, I'm writing this. Would you read it? Would you look at it?" And it's people who do poetry and short stories, and like, man, I don't know. I guess it's fine. I don't know. Like, I'm a script writer. I mean, and script writing is, you're just kind of engineering this story. It's really scientific, like it's not this stream of consciousness. I don't have a quill pen that I use and just like, oh, I'm feeling inspired by the sunset, let me go write something. No, like script writing, you have an idea. And I equate it to like a thesis, like a term paper. You have your thesis statement, you support it in a body, and then you wrap it up in a conclusion. That's script writing, because you're saying something. Like when I talk to new writers and they're telling me their stories, I'm like, what am I watching this for? Like the tortoise and the hare, like it's, what's the purpose of that? Like slow and steady wins the race. That's the information that you get from that. So what is the point of your story? And I feel like that's what sets it apart. And it's not only you have that thesis statement, that through line, but you have to tell it visually. It's not a book where you can just spend 5 pages talking about what's going on inside the character's head. You have to show, you have to kind of talk and write in pictures, so that people can see what you're trying to say.
Wow, I never really thought about it like that. Write in pictures. It makes perfect sense. I always think to myself, I love movies and TV. Like, it's funny because there's some people that say, how are you spending your quarantine? And I'm like, yo, I done got caught up on this show, that show. Like, we spend a lot of time, well, I do, in front of the television watching movies, and now big releases are coming out right, in our homes now. And so, one of the things that I think about, do you find yourself, because you write in picture, like, I guess I'm saying this right, because the way you write scripts, do you find yourself taking pieces from, you know, moments with your friends, and do you incorporate that into kind of the scripts when you see that it fits, or a funny moment or something that somebody said, a quotable or something? Do you find yourself putting that into the work?
Yes. My phone, like my notes in my phone is just pages and pages of conversations and funny moments and things that have interested me. Just everything that I kind of see in my days. And that's when I'm writing and it's time to like put dialogue or different ideas, and I just go to my phone, like to the bank, and then I dump all that into the story, because that's my voice. That's what I find interesting. That's how I see the world, is whatever I'm documenting in my phone. So I don't know what people are doing if they don't do that, you know, because it's
Mm-hmm.
just, yeah, that's where all the good stuff comes from. When you hear like great dialogue or interesting just ideas in movies, that's what it comes from. People just kind of storing up everything that they find interesting throughout the day.
Wow. I always kind of, I feel like I'm like taking this time to really like peel back the layers and really understand what Hank go through as a writer. Because it's just one of those things that's always fascinated me about just entertainment as a whole. Like, how do we really get to these stories that resonate with us so much? And it's sometimes you feel like, dang, do he know my life? Does she know my life? Because our stories are so intertwined, and experiences are intertwined. And so I wanted to ask you this, like, what are 3 pieces of advice that you can offer writers that are looking to learn about Hollywood screenwriting and how to cater their writing, or not even cater their writing, like how to really start to break into this industry that you are thriving in?
Well, the first thing is you have to write your truth, write what you know. Like you just said, when you watch something, you feel like, oh, how do they know that? I thought that was just me. So whatever that feeling is, you have to write that. Whatever you think is just you, like you're the only person that's gone through that, you're the only person that's been embarrassed by that, that's what you need to write. Because if you're like, whenever I read anything that I write, and I'm stealing this from Tarantino, he said, he's like, if you're not embarrassed by what you write, if you're not like cringing and covering your face and embarrassed to let people read it, then it's shit. I mean, it's not worth
Mhm.
reading. It's not anything interesting. But when you get into that space and you're writing from that kind of deep dark truth that's real, that's what people are going to feel, because everybody out there is thinking that they're the only ones going through it.
Mm.
So
Well,
that's the first one. But go ahead.
no, no, go ahead.
All right.
Because I said 3. I said 3, and I was like, "Ooh!" But go ahead.
But the second one is, this is a marathon. Like I've been out here for a while, and you just have to keep going. It's easy to get discouraged. This is a hard business, even when you
Mm.
are like make it, whatever the hell making it is. Like it's always going to be hardships. Like, yeah, the money increases, but it's because things get more difficult. Like you just have to keep grinding. Like I met people who I felt like were smarter than me, were better writers, but they're not here anymore. They're back in Kentucky or New York, because
Mhm.
they came out with like, all right, I got a 3-year plan. It don't happen in 3 years and I'm bouncing. And like, no, you might just save your money. Don't even come. I mean, it's not the way it works out here. Even when you get a win, Hollywood has a way of kind of kicking you. So you just have to really want this, and you just have to push through all the adversity and all the people who are rooting against you, because not everybody here wants to see you succeed. You have to push through all of that, all of your insecurities, and just keep going, and it'll happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the second. And the third one, what did I say? Write your truth, keep going, and have fun. Like, live. Don't be in a dark room just trying to write for X amount of time. You got to get out and live. You got to have something to write about, or else you're just going to be writing about writing. So go experience new things. Pick up a new hobby. Like, it's LA. Go try surfing or something. Like, but just get as many new experiences as possible, because all that is just opening you up to different. It's just food for your brain. Read
Mhm.
more. Just give your brain as much food as it can stand, because that's all going to pour out into your writing.
Mm. I love it. I think those are 3 sound and solid pieces of advice. And I'm sure somebody's going to take it and run and come back and be like, I watched Black and Forth, and Hank said, go for it. These are the 3 things he said, do, and I did it. I'm successful. I love it. I love it. I wanted to ask you, when you're writing, do you think of a soundtrack in your head that goes with that moment? Are you like, ooh, this artist would be good? Or are you inspired by hearing a certain song and incorporating that into your work at all? Because it's, you know, I know scoring is completely different, and you know, music sound is different, but do you sometimes have that collaborative moment with the people that do the music?
Oh wait, that I thought I knew what you're asking. So you threw me off at the end. So you're saying, do I listen to music as I write, or?
So I guess it's two-part question.
Okay.
So the question is, you know, do you collaborate with the people who do the music
Oh,
for the
who do the
show?
music? Okay.
And you know, has there been moments where you were listening to a certain artist and were inspired, and then you incorporated that into your writing as well?
Gotcha. Well, yeah, I just wrote my Grownish episode, and you know, Grownish has a big music budget, so I just put some songs that I feel like were solid for the show in different scenes. But then I can't reveal who it is, but one of my favorite kind of hometown artists, I made sure to put that in there, and I named after their song. So I hope that song gets in. I don't have control over that, but like I just give them my songs that I want to be in it, and we'll see if it gets in. You know, which is pretty cool. You know, because it'd be cool to get that artist in. But as far as when I'm writing, like I always have to listen to music when I write, usually instrumentals or movie scores. And it depends on what I'm writing. If it's whatever the project is, I'm like, okay, I'll listen to like Tame Impala for that. That'll kind of get me where I need to be. Or if it's, there's one period piece I'm writing right now. And so I'm listening to a lot of Motown music, you know, so just to kind of be in that kind of 60s Motown feel. You know? So it's really dependent upon what I'm writing.
Got you. You know, I also wanted to ask you, has there been shows or other, you know, bodies of work that have inspired you that you also, have you tried to like get in on other projects when you like, ooh, that's fly, I like really got some ideas that are, you know, coming to mind for other projects? Has that been something that you've done or wanted to do?
Yeah, that's kind of happening right now. There's a show that is kind of outside of me creating my own projects. To get on the show would be like a dream show. And I can't really give too much information about it, but I'm waiting for a little more feedback that I'm actually on the show. It's looking like it's going to happen. So when that happens, I will let you know. I'll send you DM and just let you know that I got it, and I'll tell you what show it is. But it's kind of happening right now.
Okay, that's fair. You know, not gonna pressure you, but I'm definitely gonna be checking my DMs. Like, where we at? Where we at? Oh, that's exciting. That's exciting. You know, are there any classes or books that you recommend for screenwriters to learn? I know you talked about what is it, How to Screenwriting for Dummies, or one of those books. What other books are you?
I don't recommend that one.
Okay, don't use that one.
It's not a bad start. I mean, you're still learning more than you did beforehand. But my Bible right now, as far as that I use for writing, is Into the Woods, a 5-act journey into script writing. And that's the book that kind of changed everything for me. You know, I got my manager after I read that, and my writing just really took off. You know, like I felt like I finally got it, because that was the book that the reference I made earlier about script writing is like a term paper. That book told me that, and once I saw it in that way, it completely shifted everything for me as far as writing. So I'll still reference the book before I write anything, and just kind of get like a refresher, and it just helps me kind of navigate the story better, you know. But there's also a story by Robert McKee. That's probably not a bad one to start out with, but I feel like for anybody who's looking to go deeper into writing, Into the Woods is the best book to buy.
So thank you for sharing those books and helping with the insight as to, you know, kind of how you piece together a story. I think that's really important to understand your behind the scenes process. And again, the goal is for this to be, you know, an opportunity for others to take this information and just go and flourish and be wonderful, just as wonderful as Hank. So, you know, when you are writing, obviously, when you're on a show, you know the different characters that are on that show. But as you work and, you know, deep dive into your own personal projects, do you have someone in mind for these projects that you hope get cast for the role, or that you kind of possibly think through that person, actor, actress being the voice or the face that you envision for your project?
I usually write my characters based off of people I grew up with, like friends back home. I haven't started writing for like talent, but yeah, like always, Yeah, it's always from people that I know, and I'll even use their real names. And because if I want to make the characters real, I need to know these characters, and rather than conjure up somebody who isn't real, just
Hmm.
kind of use somebody from back home as a framework, and it's great. People always love my characters, like, oh, they feel so real. I'm like, oh yeah, they are, like I wrote a script about my sister
Hmm.
recently. Last year, I wrote just a new pilot about her and some things she was going through. And like, yeah, the feedback is always like, this feels like a real person. This feels like a real situation. Like, well, yeah, that's my hometown and that's my sister, and those are real situations that happened. So, and
Wow.
people have this misconception that when you're a writer, you're just kind of pulling things out of your head and just making them
Hmm.
up from nothing. Like, no, you're
Hmm.
forever influenced by everything happening around you. That's where you draw your stories from. That's why I write down everything, because you're just not going to come up with something out of thin air. You can, but you need to pepper it with everything happening in your life and everything that you know. That's why we say write what you know.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think to have that foundation for, your writing and your characters is absolutely wonderful and exciting to know because I mean, I'm sure like, people back home are now that I'm sure you've said this before, but realize like maybe I'm possibly in, interwoven into one of these characters. And so that is definitely exciting because if I was your friend, like from back home, I would be looking at all your characters like a little bit of me. I say that, like, it's kind of fun, when you think about it overall. Are there any mentorship programs or guilds that offer support for writers that you're a part of or that you could recommend to others?
Yeah, Project Involve. I mean, Film Independent has a few programs that really helped me. Project Involve and the Episodic Lab, and I did that for most of 2018, and they just really Project Involve brings together like 28 writers, directors, producers, cinematographers, and you make 5 short films, and you have these like master classes over like 9 months. Like Barry Jenkins came to talk to us, and like Marvel execs, and like just really dope people who have a lot of experience. And it was just a great way to meet people in the business, people that are on the same level as you, who you can grow with and make stuff with. Like I never went to film school, but I feel like Project Involved was my film school because now if I want to go shoot something, I know who I'm calling. Like, oh, let me crew up, let me go grab this Ashram and Autumn and Sam, and we'll go make something.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then the Episodic Lab was just like a month-long boot camp that helps you prepare your script or your show idea to pitch to networks. So you're just working on your pitch for like a month, just sharpening it and getting your script in order and just your series Bible together. And at the end of the program, you pitch it to a room full of execs, like with Hulu and Netflix. And so it's just another way to kind of build relationships. So those really helped a lot. And then, of course, there's the writing programs through like Disney and Warner Brothers and CBS. So I recommend looking into those. But the Film Independent ones were amazing.
Wow.
And then
Um,
I'm sorry, one more thing. There's also
mhm.
like film festivals. Looking at film festivals, there's like the
I was gonna
Austin
ask you
Film.
that.
Yeah, Austin Film Fest has like great writing contests. Of course, Sundance. But yeah, a lot of those smaller film fests have these contests that if you win, or even if you're a semifinalist, you can get like a manager or just exposure. Like, and it's just kind of increasing your bandwidth. People
Yeah.
just more exposure and just it's something to put on a resume and make yourself sexier to a potential showrunner who's looking for writers. Like, oh wow, you did the Austin Film Fest. That's dope. Like, come write for my show. So you
Hmm.
just want to have like multiple hustles going. So even if you're out here and you're an assistant on a show, that's cool, but still try to get into one of these programs. Like just try
Hmm.
to do as much as possible.
I was it's funny you like answered so many questions in in that space and span of time because I was going to ask you about possibly going to get some credits for film school. Was that helpful? But no, so you took these different mentorship type programs and were able to succeed. With going with the film festivals, that's like a huge thing. Film festivals are coming to me like concerts for those that like love film.
Yeah,
um
yeah.
and being able to be a part of those I think is wonderful as well. I got a chance to go to New York and do the Tribeca Film Festival and
Oh, that's
cover
amazing.
those events just as a correspondent, and you know, the access that you get to people is insane.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, you
What
know,
year? What year were you there?
I was there, what, 2016, 17, 15, 16, 17, something like that.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and so like I think one of the most exciting parts for me was, you know, Greenleaf was premiered there. So I got a chance to kind of have that experience. Dear Basketball with Kobe and his entire family, they were there. And
Wow.
so, you know, to me, understanding the power of these film festivals is absolutely instrumental. And so, again, I'm just excited that you're sharing these beautiful pieces of information, because it is helpful, and you can learn a lot, and the exposure is really, really wonderful. So yeah,
Well, yeah, like, I mean, I always try to tell people what I wish somebody would have told me at that point in time, because it could shave like a year off of your journey. Just I always want to just tell people what they can do. Just I'm trying to expedite their journey a little bit if I can. You know, you can't rush the process, because I feel like there was purpose for it taking however long it did for me, because I need to get my writing in good shape, so that like the time wasn't a waste, because my writing just kept growing and growing. Like, you can't rush the process, but I'm never mad at having like more information. So yeah, I love doing stuff like this. I just want people to have all that great information, so they can come out here and do this too, you know?
Yeah. So, you know, as we get ready to wrap up, again, I appreciate your time and you being here. What is there a particular director, actor, screenwriter? Is there anyone that is like your dream person to work with? And then I know like your projects that you are, so it's a two-part question again. And then the projects that you are working on, is it your dream to have a feature film, your own television series? Like, what's your dream?
Well, the first part, as far as who to work with, I have to say my wife first.
Yes, why?
She's the writer director, so that's the first one. Of course, she's in the kitchen, so better say it loud. I want to work with my wife. But after my wife, I probably would want to collaborate. I love Barry Jenkins. He's a great person, like super smart, great energy. Like, my talks with him have been just amazing. I would love to collaborate with him on something. Yeah, those are the big 1 and 2 right there. And as far as my own projects, like things that I want to do, of course, I want to do it. I want to have my own show. I want to, like, these features that I'm developing right now. Hopefully I can sell them before the year's out, so I can have a movie going. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of projects in the works, and we're just waiting for them to get involved. Like, I'm working with different production companies on them, and it's been progressing nicely. I'm just ready to pitch and sell them, you know. So once I can get some movies made, like, I'll be on to the next thing. But movies is primarily why I moved to LA. Like, I'm working in TV, which is a dream, and I've been developing these movies. But if I can get a movie on the big screen, like, that's like the 5-year-old version of me. Like, I'll remember that kid who wanted to do that, and I'll just feel like that kind of full circle moment, you know?
Listen, I'm all for speaking it into existence and continuing to, you know, make sure that you say it out loud. So from your lips to God's ears, I definitely wish you the greatest success on your projects and your endeavors. Thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to us this evening on Black and Forth. A special thank you to Digital Dash PR, The Wave USA, and, you know, I could keep talking to you because I can go. Like, I love television, I love movies, and so to talk to you has definitely been a dream. When Jason told me and Fee told me, I was like, what? I was so excited.
No, I appreciate it, and thank you for taking the time to
yeah. So excited. How can we follow you? How can we stay in touch with the work that you're doing? Give us all the information.
I'm at Hank Jiggs on Instagram. I'm not really on my Twitter like that. My aunt keeps hitting me up on Facebook, so I don't really go there anymore. So Instagram probably will work. And yeah, or my IMDb page. But that's just really my resume online. But yeah, I'll add me on Instagram. That's it.
Say your Instagram for me one more time.
Oh, Hank Jiggs, like Jigs.
All right. Thank you so much. Again, I'm your host, Nori for Black and Forth. This has been an absolute dream. Thank you so much for watching.